Hello and welcome back to Good Game Niche, where we bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston, and today we are doing our Red Extra Booster Pack Memorial Collection color review. And we're going to go color by color and talk about some pros and cons of what we saw that came out of the set, and then maybe rank them at the end of it. We'll see what happens when we get through all of them. But first up, we're starting like we always do with Red. And Red got some good cards out of this set, I think. And we'll start first with a leader that has a lot of potential in my mind. We just have to see things go its way. So we have Odin here, a 4-life leader with 5k power that has a really cool thing that I don't think we've seen very often. And Odin cards and Wano cards often get this really cool thing where they just get an extra thing that's constant. Odin's thing is Land of Wano characters that don't have counter get plus 1k counter. And then he has an effect to where when one Dawn is attached when attacking, if you have a cost 5 or greater Land of Wano character in play, the leader gets 1000 power until the start of your next turn. So he becomes a 6k defending leader. And we know with very few 6k defending leaders and how well those leaders have done historically, that's not a terrible place to start. So there's some conditions there. You have to have a Dawn attached, and then you have to have a 5 or higher character on board. So this is going to be coming on a couple turns later. But that plus 1000, that's going to be affecting your Odin characters, your Kinemon characters. There's not very many Wano characters that don't already have counter. So these are your big drops that you don't usually rely on them having 1k, but at the end of the game, if you're all stuck up in your hand, that is a nice thing to have. Moving past our leader, we have an Izo that I think has a ton of potential to go into Whitebeard decks, being able to give a minus 2k power just for discarding, get rid of a card out of your hand that you don't need anymore, and on your opponent's turn, minus 2k, so it's kind of like a counter. And Red likes to do that discard thing like Ace does. So it's a Wano Country leader or Whitebeard Pirate, so this could easily go into Ace as well. I think that's something to be looking forward to. We're going to come back to Killer and Kid because I think that just takes a little bit more. We did get Manga Chopper in this. I don't see the benefits of this character card right now. It does have Straw Hat Pirates as a red character, so there is an advantage in general to it, but a 3-cost blocker with some other effects that I don't know if you'd be using right away. And then the Yamato I think is interesting, giving Arrested Dawn once per turn, just like a Nami would do, I think is really nice. At 5 cost and a 2k counter, I could see it making its way into some red decks, especially if we can get some type of synergy with a searcher. So red-green in this deck, being able to possibly search Yamato with Momo or something like that might be really interesting. There's some really exciting stuff for the future. If we get more animal cards, this would be our first indicator of a really interesting searcher being able to search on counter. And then this card says it KOs just a ton of stuff. KO 6k or less, or 6k power or less, or on trigger a 5k power or less, which seems pretty good for a 3-cost counter card that you could potentially take out an entire attack and get it off the board so you don't have to worry about. 6k power is nothing to worry about when you have so much that you can do to minus and stuff like that. The stage is forgettable, but really the last thing I want to talk about here is the Kid and Killer, which immediately made its way into every Law deck because it's just another rush card that you have that also has so much more. It's kind of like you get a beefed up Zoro. So it has rush, and then if your opponent has 2 or less life, the character gains 2k during this turn. So it starts at a 7k attacker at some times, and then there's a potential to be silly with Law decks restand it with the restand law and make it attack again, or restand it with the red-green Luffy, and then it's even more power because that Luffy gives power on top of that. So that's super exciting to see, and it's one of the very few changes that Law has gotten over the last 7 sets. So that's good. We're getting some innovation out of Law players, which we don't get very much of. I think the most recent thing was a slight addition to the Robin that gets played now. The rest of the cards are missable. Alabasta for the VV leader, I think you can forget about that. And I don't think Whitebeard Pirates need a 1-drop 3k with 1k counter vanilla card. It just doesn't seem necessary for what it's doing already, at least in the current meta. Maybe that becomes more important. 1-cost red cards are dumb though, because you have Curly to Dawn and stuff like that. So there's always a chance this card gets played into it just because you have that searchability. It's searchable by 2 cards. It doesn't die. Little Oars doesn't die. I don't see it going anywhere though. It just doesn't seem like it matters. But yeah, I think that is every card really. We talked about everything. Since the set is so small, you can really just run through everything that is on the screen. Overall, I think red came in strong. I was really worried about it. We didn't see very much potential, and then we got that Killer and Kid, and then looking back at that ISO, which is great. And the leader has a ton of potential. I hope that some people are picking it up. I haven't seen a lot of it at this point, but I hope that it does get picked up and that people are going for it and trying to figure out where that balance between red characters and the already pre-existing green Wano stuff. So I guess if red Wano gets a reprint, or if you just start getting prints of red Wano cards, this I think will raise in value quite a bit because it will be more cohesive. But until then, we'll have to wait and see if it actually becomes anything. And I believe that's all I can say about red. I'm really stretching it out at this point, so I'm going to let you all go, and until next time, peace.